Okay, so to date, this is probably the most ridiculous build that I've ever made that's actually decent. I had no idea that shields could be used really as weapons in Elden Ring, and having over 2,000 hours in this game, I'm surprised I didn't know this sooner, but this is going to be the shield hero build. It's going to use the spiked palisade wall shield, and only that. You're going to decimate every single person with this shield, and it's really ridiculous. So I hope you guys enjoy the build. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Per usual, a sub goes a long way. And let's get into the video. So as stated before, this is going to be the shield hero build. It's going to focus on using the spiked palisade shield wall with a frost affinity on it, allowing us to not only get a blood loss buildup, but frost proccing on our enemies as well. And when both of them proc at the same time, it's absolutely incredible. But what really makes this build tick is the shield crash Ash of War. You can use just heavy charged R2s and hit people with the shield, but that doesn't do nearly as much damage as if you use the shield crash Ash of War, because this is not only going to do damage multiple times to your enemy, but it's also going to proc the talismans that we have, and it's going to really work well with our Flask of Wondrous physics. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start out with what this build actually is going to use and where you're going to get every single one of the items. I will have a breakdown in this video of every single area you can get every single item that I'm using for this build, and I'm going to have a stat breakdown at the end of the video, so make sure you stick around for that. This is going to be a level 150 build, even though my character currently is level 162. All the rest of the stats that I've gotten over level 150 have just gone into vigor, so nothing is really going to change for you except for your health. But moving right into the talismans, first and foremost, we're going to be using the Rottenwing Sword Insignia, which is going to give us a excellent damage boost because it's going to increase our attack power based on our successive attacks. This is a really great talisman to use because this talisman is going to work in tandem with our Shield Crash Ash of War, allowing us, when we are hitting the enemy multiple times with Shield Crash, to actually proc the Rottenwing Sword Insignia. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it does work. I've done a ton of testing on it, and it does give you more damage. The Rottenwing Sword Insignia is going to give us a 13% attack power boost at the end of all of our successive attacks, allowing us to pile on more damage, making the shield more effective. The next talisman is going to be the Great Jar's Arsenal. This is going to vastly increase your maximum equip load, and because we're using a little bit heavier armor, and because the shield and our secondary weapon is going to be a little bit heavy, this is going to allow us to get a medium load, allowing us to get a 19% increase in our equip load, which is just going to help overall with the quality of life of this particular build, keeping you out of that heavy load range. For talisman number 3, we're going to be using the Shard of Alexander. This is going to greatly boost the attack power of all of your skills. It's actually going to increase the damage of our Shield Bass Ash of War on our shield by 15%, which is absolutely fantastic because that's going to stack with the Rottenwing Sword Insignia, allowing us to pour more damage out onto our enemies. And in talisman slot number 3, we're going to be using the Great Shield Talisman. This is going to boost your guarding ability. Now, the reason we need this is because our shield is not going to have a total 100% damage negation when it comes to physical damage in Elden Ring. So having the Great Shield Talisman here is going to allow us to get a 20% increase to our damage negation that we're going to be taking with this particular shield, allowing us overall to get as close to that 100% physical damage negation that we possibly can with this shield. And if you don't know what that means, it means that every single piece of physical damage that comes our way, if we are blocking, will be blocked 100% as long as we have the stamina to take the hit. But because we don't have 100% damage negation and we are very close, having 90% physical damage negation, we still will take a little bit of damage when we're blocking, but it won't be nearly as rough as if we weren't using this talisman. Now, for the Rottenwing Sword Insignia, you are going to need to do Millicent's questline. I will leave that in the description down below so you guys can watch that. You'll have the opportunity to get either the Millicent's prosthesis or the Rottenwing Sword Insignia, so definitely do that questline to get one of those talisman. Either one would work here, but I use the Rottenwing because it gives me a bigger attack power boost. The Great Jar's Arsenal is going to be given to you from the Great Jar here in Caelid after you defeat the 3 invaders you can summon, completing the Great Jar's trial, and then he will reward you with this talisman. The Shard of Alexander is going to be given to you at the end of Alexander's questline. I am going to be doing that video here in the next few days, so I will link that in the video description down below once this video is done. And the Great Shield Talisman is going to be located in a carriage here on the map east of the Erdtree Gazing Hill Site of Grace. Now, as far as the weapon we are using, like I said, we are using the Spiked Palisade Shield, and let's go through exactly why this shield is so good. It's going to have a physical damage of 201 plus 149, and it's going to have magic damage of 162 plus 9, only because I put a Frost Affinity on this weapon, allowing our Frost buildup to go to 153, while also having a Blood Loss buildup of 65. It is only going to take strength to wield, so you're only going to need 20 strength to wield this weapon, and having the shield Shield Crash Ash of War on it is going to allow you to do the bulk of the damage you will do with this shield. As stated before, the physical damage right now is 90.2, and that's only because of the Great Shield Talisman, but that is just enough to keep this build viable and doing a ton of damage while not receiving a lot. Now, if you want to get this weapon, you can get it right here on the map next to the Deep Sophria well. There's a site of grace there, rest there, and you can run all the way to the first golem who's going to be standing over a corpse, and that corpse will have this shield there. Now, to boost our damage even further with this build, we are not only using Talismans, but we're going to be using the Commander's Standard to give us an extra buff. You're going to use its Ash of War Rallying Cry, which is going to give you a 20% physical damage buff, as well as a 20% damage negation buff. All of this that we're equipping is going to keep us in that medium load range, so this is a no-brainer, especially if you're going to be getting more damage to add onto your shield. I do have a seal equipped as well, but that's only because I have 16 faith in order to use Flame Grant Me Strength. Obviously, we have no fire damage here, but it also gives us 20% extra damage, which is going to stack on top of the Commander's Standard, allowing us to get a total of 40% physical damage added on top of all of our talismans for our shield. Now, real quick, guys, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching this far into the video. If you've not subscribed yet and you're finding value in the content that I'm providing, feel free to hit the sub button and the bell notifications so you guys can know when I'm making more videos. I do appreciate it a ton, and a sub goes a long way. We're almost at 20,000 subscribers, and it's all your fault. So feel free to sub to the channel. I appreciate it a ton. Now, let's get back into the Flask of Wonders Physic. Now, as far as our Flask of Wonders Physic, we are going to be using the Thorny Crack tier and the Green Burst Crystal tier. The reason we're using both of these tiers is the Thorny Crack tier is going to stack with the Rotwing Sword Insignia, because the Thorny Crack tier is also going to work with our successive attacks, allowing us to get more attack power the more times we hit the enemy. So you'll get a total of 20% attack power boost from the Thorny Crack tier, and because we're using a shield for all of our attacking, our stamina is going to get a beating, so we're going to be using the Green Burst Crystal tier, which is going to temporarily boost our stamina recovery speed. This is going to give us a 17.7% increase in our stamina recovery, so that's going to allow us to roll more, dodge out of the way, and have more stamina when we do get hit while we're blocking with our shield. The Thorny Crack tier is going to be located very late game in the consecrated snowfields after you beat the Putrid Avatar by the Erd Tree in the northern part of the map, and the Green Burst Crystal tier is going to be dropped by the Erd Tree Avatar found in Caelid right next to the Smoldering Church. Now, for our armor, I'm going to recommend you use something that gets you over that 51 poise mark. If you have under 51 poise, you're going to be absolutely slapped around by everything, even though you're using a shield. We don't have 100% damage negation, as we said, so having that 51 poise is going to allow you to take hits better, and it's going to allow you to stay alive for longer. So I am using the Raging Wolf Helm, the Scale Armor, the Scaled Gauntlets, and the Scaled Greaves, which gives me 52 poise, but you can use whatever you want to use. We still have a medium load here, so you can equip a little bit heavier armor if you need to, but this is all personal preference for you. There's nothing about this armor that's going to allow our shield to do more damage or benefit us in any other way besides that 51 poise. Now, lastly, we're going to go over the stats real quick. As I said at the beginning of the video, I am level 162, but all of the extra stats are stacked into the vigor mark. So for this build, you're going to probably have 50 vigor. My mind is at 23 in case I want to use some summons. Endurance is at 25. Strength is at 51. Dexterity is at 50. You should max out strength and put strength up at 80. You really don't need the dex, but I was working on some stuff, so this is what I currently have. Intelligence is at 9 because you don't need any. Faith is at 16 for that Flame Grant Me Strength, and then Arcane is at 7 because we haven't used any. My starting class for this particular build was the Vagabond, and now you should have everything you need in order to make this build for yourself. And guys, that's going to be it for the Shield Hero build. This was one of those builds where I wanted to see if I could, and I found out that I can, and it was awesome. So thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. If you like the content, feel free to subscribe, hit the bell notification so you can know when I'm making more of it. I got guides, build videos, whatever you need for Elden Ring, it's located on my channel, so I'm going to leave a bunch of videos on the screen for you right now to check out. And until next time, stay safe, enjoy the game, and I'll see you in the next one.